All righty, Bo. I want to go back to our event over the weekend. Again, my events are very different than most, where you have a presentation and then the audience lines up and asks questions. There was one question that was asked of you that, frankly, I can still feel. And this was from a young man that basically said, "Hey, Bo, you're having your first child. Congratulations. What would you want them to do first?" And I think we need to riff on it. I want to talk about it more. I want to go deeper. I want to share my thoughts. I thought that was such a great question. So thank you for being a part of it. Let's get started.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to just say that was an amazing event, and this
Oh, look at you.
this this belt was truly amazing. Like I didn't even understand it until I felt the quality of it. I was just thought it was it's an awesome belt, but
Right.
when you actually hold it, it's like a real belt, and it's like amazing. I'll never. I mean, this is something that I'll always remember, and it'll be hanging on my wall.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that. That was, amazing thing to do for all the speakers.
No, I had to do something special. I know what it takes to present. I know, you were lucky in that you were local, right? Everybody else flew in, and you as a host, you got to take care of the audience. You got to do this, you got to do that, but you also got to do something for the speakers so they say yes next time you ask them. So that was my way to get speakers to be open to coming back. So I'm glad it worked.
Well, anyways, let me dive into dissect and unpack what you brought up. And so, thinking about having a child and thinking about the question that gentleman asked, and he's like, well, real estate or business or what would you do? And I think it's kind of a multi-prong approach. First of all, um, I'm going to bring my child into the world with an abundance mindset and really have him understand all the entrepreneurial opportunities there are out there. I'm
Right.
going to have him. I'm going to have him learn about self-directed vehicles, all the things that a lot of people don't even understand. Tax, what tax codes, like tax benefits and stuff. So he understands the basics, the fundamentals that we weren't taught growing up.
Yeah.
And I didn't learn anything in high school. I didn't go to college, and I was self-taught on everything I attended workshops. I go to mastermind groups, events like yours, and I continue to educate myself. I found peace of mind by learning from people that are actually out there doing it, and I want to be able to share that with my son. And so, what advice would I give my son? So anyways, I'm going to bring him up to love people, to be a
Hmm.
go-giver, like it says on the belt, right? We want everybody to be a go-giver. The more go-givers in the world, the better place. Period. We're not going to have all this turmoil that we have right now.
Hmm.
And I'm going to teach my son to think for himself. I'm going to teach my son to, believe in himself and to I think the first advice I would give him is when he's growing up and figuring out what he likes, what he doesn't like. I'm gonna, show him about real estate. Here's, an investment. This is how we look at rental properties. And I
Hmm.
would say, look, your first goal, whether you want to go to the university or you want to go to trade school and learn a trade or you want to own a business, my goal would be the time my son graduates high school, that he would be able to cover his costs by a business we created in high school for him. So whether
Oh,
that's
I love that.
yeah,
I love
so
that.
so I really like the vending world a lot because it's
Mm.
very predictable. I think you have great tax benefits by owning these vending machines,
Mhm.
and you can scale them, and it takes about 1 hour per week uh, per machine. So I think growing up, giving him a vending route would be, or helping him get into a vending route,
Mm.
something like that. As he's learning about real estate, I'd probably have him work on some houses and some rental properties that I own, work within one of my businesses, um, to get him equipped, with real world information, and not necessarily push university. I do think you need to learn, basic grammar. You need to learn history and economics. But I think you can do that by tuning into people's
Mm.
YouTube channels better than you can by going to a university. I really do
Yeah.
believe that nowadays with what's I mean, you just think about people that tune into your show, right? Like I was telling
Hmm.
you before, I tune in to learn, about CPI, all these things I never really paid attention to, but I need to.
Right.
So his baseline would be covered by this business venture, whether it's vending or not. And then his first investment from there, I would teach him about house hacking. I would say, listen,
Oh yeah, I love that. I love
let,
that.
yeah, let's get him into a duplex. His first investment,
Yeah.
3.5% down, FHA loan, right? So we get him in there with 3% down. He's now living for free and maybe cash flowing a little bit. And then he progresses from there. I think if we can just give those fundamentals right there, his
Yeah.
trajectory in life would be far superior than the majority of people by just having his baseline covered like that.
Yeah, when I kind of hear that, I think there's a lot that I love in that story. First, you obviously started with him being a good human being, being productive in society. I love that. I also really loved with your target of starting something in high school. I was going to ask you that, and you put it out there right away. I think starting a business in high school, something, it'll be life changing for lots of reasons. And one of those reasons, frankly, might be he's not an entrepreneur, right? There are some people like myself who aren't wired that way. And, we were wired to be employees. And, it's possible as generations go by that is less and less ingrained. So I appreciate that. But I just want to remind you that, maybe it won't work. And it's okay if it doesn't work, then being an employee, but being a great employee, living below your means, stack paper, house hack, right? The beginning changes, right? Because one of the things we're on the opposite sides of this, right? Your son will be welcome to the world shortly. My daughter is 32 years old. So completely other side, right?
And my wife is 33.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So it's interesting for me because my daughter is nothing like me, right? I have been focused on money since I was probably, oh gosh, 7 or 8 years old, right? It was just always ingrained. Now, to me, money equals security. Either you had it or you didn't. So it's not a memory that I ever wanted my daughter to have, right? That I'm broken, I'm damaged, and I didn't want her to have that. Good news is she doesn't have it. She doesn't have that thing. But she also never had that desire hustle to just make, 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 make. And frankly, I think she's probably happier than I was at 32, right? Because I was always busting my ass 80 hours a day, and that's just not her. So I think she's happier, which is all I want for her. And it's just it's just interesting. I love the idea that you're going to do something in high school because I think you're going to learn a lot. And that's the time to know, right? Oh, you want to be a doctor? Well, okay. Well, you got to go to school for that, son. Right? You want to work on ACs? Great. Well, let's get a AC business or whatever. Right? Let's go get a home service business. I mean, I think your son has a great chance of being elite. And the only other thing I would throw out there, and I got this from the lumberjack. The lumberjack and I had lunch yesterday with him, his wife, his 4 kids. So pretty awesome. His 6-year-old, Sam, is already flipping garage sale stuff. Right. So again, there's even things you could potentially do earlier than high school to get him involved and talk about it. So I'm just excited to see where dads in my network take the next generation. So I look forward to watching.
That might be something that you do in the future, or we do in the future collectively.
Yeah.
I could see like a one rental nonprofit that goes in and educates the youth, right? Goes in and talks at high schools and just teaches them about real estate and economics. And I mean, that is greatly needed. I could, maybe in the future we could do something like that. That would be a fun,
I'm,
total go-giver thing that we would
I'm
help
down to consider it. Absolutely. Yeah.
thousands of people. We can help thousands of people because all of your viewers, they would love to have their kids get engaged early on. And I agree with you. Everybody kind of says, "Oh, you're just brainwashed to be W-2." Being a W-2 employee, it's not a bad thing. And some
No,
people never.
know thyself, man. Know thyself. That's the thing that bugs me about entrepreneurs. Let me just say this. Lots of entrepreneurs talk down to W-2 employees. That's not okay. You know yourself. I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that frankly should quit and go become employees because you all suck at being entrepreneurs. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, even when we were at Ryan's office and he kind of said, "Oh, well, you're an employee and you don't think," and like I was like, "Well, that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of employees,
Yeah. Hey,
like there's a lot of employees that make $1 million or $2 million a year, and they are pretty darn smart, right? So I think we
Hmm.
can't just classify employees in one direction. I mean,
Hmm.
my brother is an employee and he's a multi millionaire, and does quite well, and he's happy, and he doesn't necessarily need to be crazy like us as an entrepreneur. So
That's the key word. You just said the key 5-letter word that I'm going to be harping on. It's happy. Happy. Like if you make $46,000 a year and you legit come home happy, I want you to hear me right now. You win. You win. This is all about being happy. One of the great conversations from the event we were at, obviously, was Chad Carson, Coach Carson. And he had the one chart with the word enough on it in green Sharpie and an asterisk. That's, I had no idea, but that's what Olivia and I did. We got up to some financial mountain and we sat down. A lot of people in our world, people that you and I know, they always go higher. And that brings more stress and more risk and more this and more that. And I'm like, nope, we're good. Dude, we've been sitting down for 5+ years. It's okay. Okay. Now our job now is to reach down and pull people up instead of turn our back to them and go higher. That image just hit me right now. If Olivia and I stood up to climb higher, we would turn our back on everybody behind us. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to sit down and pull people up. That just feels like the right thing to do.
right, we need more people that do that. A lot of people, they don't do that, and it's just all about them. I think you get to a certain point in your life where you should give back to society. I think ultimately you're going to feel, when you're in your deathbed, you're going to feel a lot better knowing that you helped thousands of people build their own legacy, whether that's owning 4 rental properties or owning 40 or 140 rental properties, right? You're
Yeah.
helping the world achieve a level of peace and happiness by not being stressed out about money. Stress is the number one killer of human beings, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
kills people, creates divorce,
Yep.
people that have the money. And I do think enough is enough, right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to hold ourselves up to this person because they're on social media and they're great and
Yeah.
they're like, they want to scale and grow. If that's what makes you happy, then that's fine. But
Yeah.
I
Go
also think,
nuts.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
I also,
If it makes you happy though, there's a lot of people doing it because they think that's what the world expects. That's just not it, dude. It's not it.
yeah, yeah. And so I was talking to my marketing guy Bill, who came to your event, and he was
Hey,
talking about one of
awesome.
his sons, and he's like, he's in high school, he's going to graduate soon, and he doesn't want to go to university, and he really wants to be a musician. And Bill and I were talking, and I said, Bill, like, like a vending business for your son. You help him get involved. He has 10 or 15 vending machines, and he has more money than he needs if he lives modestly,
Yeah.
and he can do his music. And so that's the kind of thing I think we should teach people, is to be self-sustaining. Like,
Yeah.
hey, if you don't want to be in that stressed environment, like, I could tell with your personality type, when you were in your 20s and 30s, you were probably so concentrated that you probably weren't as happy as you
Oh
could
no,
have been.
no doubt. No doubt. I worked all the time. I'm not even sure I could have spelled happy back then.
I mean, the upside thing for you is that in your mid 40s, you're able to kind of step back, or you were able to retire,
Yep.
right? Where
Hmm.
most
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
aren't going to do that. So you're
Yep.
able to kind of, at a relatively young age, you're able to live a life that a lot will never be able to do, because
Hmm.
they're going to have to work until they're 80. So
Hmm.
it did pay off, for sure, and it does pay off by doing
Hmm.
that. Well, what would be the difference if you would have just done, had a portfolio of 30 houses now, and you
Yeah.
still had enough cash flow? Nothing would have changed in your life that significantly, I don't think, like, from a happy
No.
standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. No, one of the things that was funny, Anna and I were talking this morning, that she put in her schedule that I wish I did. And that is, she puts in essentially date nights with her kids, right? So it's just mom and her son, mom and her daughter. So they go out together to keep that relationship. That is something that I missed, just clearly missed. Worked 5 days, 6 days a week, often on different continents, you know, we did a vacation a year, which meant we drove to Yosemite. I mean, I missed a lot, and you can't get that time back. So you're absolutely right. I should have done lots of things different. And the crazy thing is, to your point, my end result probably would have been the same. I would just have better memories with my daughter, which is really a shame to say, but it's probably true. So don't do what I did.
So,
Yeah,
so
they're important, man. They're only young once. They're only young once.
yeah, yeah, it was interesting because at the event also there were some newer investors and having conversations with them, and sometimes I put my 2 cents in and I go sometimes I should just shut up and not say anything. But one investor went out and like was so eager to do it. She went in on like 5 houses, like all at once, and
Ooh,
in an out of
don't
state
do that.
market,
Don't
in
do
out
that.
of an out of state market. And I said, look, like you should listen. I've made all the mistakes, and I could just tell you, test the waters first. Especially if you're going out of state, just don't go
Yeah.
in and go. It's so weird how people. I don't know what it is, and she had brought up fear of missing out. Right? They get FOMO.
FOMO, yeah.
And I see that with the house flippers. When I was doing a lot of hard money lending and lending on flips back in the day, there was this one really ambitious guy, and he started to do all these big projects in San Francisco, and he got in over his head and got foreclosed on like five
Yeah.
properties.
Yeah.
That happens. If he would have just stayed with the one, finished
Yep.
it,
Then
it
another
it
one, finished it. Yeah.
it,
It did
it
okay.
happens.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a lot of amazing things for our community, small businesses, franchise, all of that. If somebody wanted to book a meeting with you to go through their examples, how would they do that?
Go to onerentalmeeting.com, onerentalmeeting.com.
And I loved having you at the event because it wasn't, to me, the event wasn't a real estate event. We had stock guys there, small business guys. We had the uneducated economist who's not a real estate guy. We had Lance. It was an awesome event. Thank you for being that, small business arm for us. The audience and I really appreciate it. So, congrats on your championship belt.
Thank you so much.
You got it, bud.